there. Yeah. Now, when I'm away, I was in Pattaya recently and bumped into a guy from New York City. And I said, how's it all going over there? And he said, not very well, just economic problems. And he said, but the UK is doing really okay. I said, well, it's not, because I said, you need to have a look at some YouTube videos about Broken Britain. So I'm going to take an opportunity whilst I'm in Thailand, because being so many thousand, I mean, I'm what, over 4,000 miles away from home. It really does give you food for thought being away. You see it for all of what it is, rather than just the bit where you are. I was an Army reservist for years, so I always say to people, any form of Army exercise, you only see the part that you're in, you don't see the entire game plan. However, that could be argued being in the artillery, because you do have knowledge of battle group, but as a physically seeing anything, you only see the part where you are. So like I said, being over 4,000 miles away from home at the moment gives me a good idea, and it's a lot of food for thought about the UK, and the fact that somebody, a very nice man from America, thinks that the UK is doing all right. So let's have a look at Broken Britain. You could blame successive governments. You could blame the OPEC oil crisis in 1973. You can blame deindustrialization, but let's take it from pretty much the last 30 years, which would be the dawn of New Labour in 1997. So 1997 comes along, yeah, and New Labour get voted in. People who I voted for Tony Blair, for a brighter future. I don't support the Tories, the Conservatives at all. I never have done. They're just not my kind of people. So I voted for New Labour, who were left of centre, but it's the lesser of two evils in my opinion. So it, after many years, I was in my final year at school, which in the UK is 15, 16 years old. And in 1979, when the previous Labour government fell, and so up till 97, I was 30 odd, the early 30s, and New Labour got in. So I really had I was optimistic that they were going to bring back industry, they were going to have a magic wand, etc. Okay, what New Labour didn't tell people was that if I'd have known this, I don't know where I wouldn't have voted for the Tories, but they had this thing in their heads about a one world population, which I find entirely unusual. So they opened up a floodgate in my country, and it caused they did this within the European Union. So it's not a one world population, it's a one European Union population, which all it landed up was, if you didn't like your low paid job, there would be a queue all the way to the Russian border and back for it, and it would keep, you've got people who were then from countries with economic downturn being used to keep wages low and hours long. So it really didn't work, did it? I mean, I've got nothing personally against people from other countries at all, but I really feel that they were used. New Labour played straight into the hands of the wealthy capitalists who took every penny for it. So, and also another thing they didn't tell people was they implemented what is called Jungian psychology into schools. Okay, so schools generally don't like military things. They're not overly supportive of the armed services. They want the children to not go and get killed, which is fair enough. All right, but what New Labour brought in was Jungian psychology into the schools, where it's all no military. Like I said, I mean, I do a lot of model building, so I meet a lot of people, and school teachers as well, and people say to these school teachers, "Oh, this tank would be great for the kids and all that," and the teachers say we cannot do it because we're not allowed to have anything military, which I found unusual because everything military was banned from schools because they thought that if they did this with children, there would be a lesser chance of a war. Yet New Labour fought two wars, one in Iraq and one in Afghanistan. And the children, obviously, from those schools went on to be killed and wounded in those wars, which is highly contradictory. So like I said, Blair then passed it over to Brown. We didn't see any industry come back. All we saw was people from second world countries used to keep wages low and hours long. And then New Labour just fell to pieces, and then the Tories got in. Now let me have just a quick word about Carl Jung. I've got undergrad psychology and postgrad social work, and also psychotherapy, where I've read the works of Jung and Freud. Freud, they say that theories are disproved, but are they? And Jung is a very sort of wishy-washy version of Freud. And at the end of the day, to base a nation's psychology for children on a man who was a watered-down version of the ultimate master, which was Dr. Sigmund Freud, I find highly unusual. They didn't tell people about this. They should have told people. People would have opposed it. All right, because and then they went against everything because those wars went on for what, 10, 15 years? So the children that would have been in the junior schools where they implemented it would have grown up, joined the army, and risked their lives, and with some paying the ultimate price. So in all of it, I personally think they were muddled and confused. They didn't bring back industry. They promised lifelong learning, which doesn't happen now. And their one world population, which wasn't even a one world population, which was a one EEC population, really didn't work, did it? And Brexit. Okay, so Brexit. Because of the frustrations of the previous Labour government, people pushed for Brexit. Now, Nigel Farage's reasons for Brexit would be far different from what he says publicly. I was for Remain, but with strings attached, that we would have a quota like any other European country. We were part of the Big Five, which was the 5 original member states, and that we could have stayed, which militarily and economically it would have been good for us. The pound is at an all-time low with foreign currencies at the moment. I'm currently abroad, and the pound is not good. The pound is worse off than when I was here before. So in all of it, I was up for staying, but with strings attached. So which we could have negotiated those strings attached because we had a lot of power in Europe. But we gave the whole game away, threw the baby out with the bathwater, and we've now landed up as an independent nation with a faltering economy. Which is disappointing. So, like I said, that's the Tories. You've got dodgy Dave Cameron. I never liked that guy or any of his cabinet. Not at all. He, not the nicest man. They were referring. I mean, I used to watch that Andrew Neil show with Portello and Abbott, in all of it, they were referring to Cameron's Tory party as a nasty party at the time because of the way they implemented bedroom tax, the way that they interrogated people on state benefits. You want people to go back to work, you've got to have jobs for them, and you've got to have proper, secure jobs for them, all right? You need industry, all right? So I'm in a country at the moment which is industrial nation. They've still got their industry, their society works, all the shops are open. There's a lot of online sales, but generally there's still individual shops here. Their high streets are not run down, and their economy works. Okay, yeah, it's as simple as that. I walked past the other day. This inspired me to make this video. I walked past the other day a factory here where a load of factory workers finishing their shift were lining up the clock out to go home from work. And they live in the local area, and the money they earn feeds into the local businesses, and it's what we used to have at home, but not now, because it's all been ground up, sold off with what is called neoliberalism, which is the government's ability to sell off public-owned industry and business and sell it to the highest bidder. I mean, if you look at it now, Asda is owned by, I mean, Asda wasn't a public sector organisation, but it's owned by foreigners. Yeah, okay. Asda give out this image of northern family confidence. Yeah, it's not even owned by anyone in Britain, let alone in the north or the south, let alone, working class or not, which is the image that they like to give, but it's rubbish. So, like I said, then we are now under Keir Starmer, okay, Sir Keir Starmer, rather. Is he a success? Well, we don't know yet, all right? People are calling names a lot. I don't know. You can only judge it after a few years of his government. He was Director of Public Prosecutions. That's a very high up job. He sort of plays his working class card a lot, and my dad was a toolmaker, my boy this, my boy that. He has, in his favour, got rid of 0 hours contracts. If he hasn't, let me know in the comments below. But if you want to be on a 0 hours contract, you can do that. I think that's a good move, but there are other complaints about him when he was the Director of Public Prosecutions, which I am not entirely clued up on. So, Broken Britain. Like I said, in all of it, no success, no government since 1997, because I mean I'm 60 and a lot of younger people are going to be watching this, so I won't go about the glorious days of the 60s and 70s. I can only remember just the late 60s. I remember all through the 70s, but let's talk about from 97 onwards. So if you're born in 97, you're 30 odd now. No, you're not. You're, sorry, I'm telling a lie, you're late 20s. Yeah, so in all of it, you're old enough to be in the world working, you're out of school, out of university. I mean, you remember, I mean, this isn't even a class issue, because any form of deindustrialization affects all classes. The middle class used to work in factories, and along with the working class. And we haven't what was it they call it? Regenerate, yeah? So what they used to, my city was pretty much deindustrialized, and it's never been regenerated. Okay, you can be a barista, but that's not going to keep a wide, like, okay, let's get it down to brass tacks. If you're a man and you're married, you meet a girl, okay, you struggle to get housing. Many young people at the moment, young professionals, people like that, living in caravans, trailers on the side of the road in my city. All right, so you would struggle to get a mortgage. You would struggle to rent private accommodation. Council accommodation is given out to people with social problems only. All right, it's not given out to young families. It's given out, like I said, according to how many social problems that you've got. All right, so and they build these what are called affordable homes. I personally find that I find that a sort of contradiction, really. So the council owns half of it, you own half of it. They used to call it co-ownership years ago, which means they can opt out of half. It's, you know, it's all in their favour. We've got local authorities going bankrupt in the UK. So in all of it, I think nothing's come back, has it? There's, you know, they, like I said, saying about my city, it wasn't regenerated. To be one of these if you're a barista, if you meet a girl, now you settle down, she has one child, and okay, you can manage both you still working with one child, all right? And then if your wife has a second child, that's the point when you have to be the breadwinner, bring home the bacon, as they say in the United States, all right? So you've got to earn enough to keep a wife and 2 kids, all right? If you have a third, I don't think they're going to give you a family allowance for the third child nowadays. So you've got to earn enough, and those jobs are not there. The old factory jobs used to be enough for you to earn X amount of money to pay your rent on your council home or your mortgage, and your wife could stay home to look after the children, because it's best for children that the mother is there up until the age of about 5 when they go to school, all right? It's good for them. And you won't earn enough. So in that hardships, you will get relationship breakdowns. You will get a decline in the population, because people are, as when I did my course in psychology, what one lecturer said from Liverpool University is, the public are clued up. They know. Yeah, they know. So, you know, young people living in caravans, they can go and buy a motorhome or a caravan for X amount of money. All right, okay, they're going to get into a few problems living on the side of the road. But where do they get 350 grand to buy a house? They're not going to get it. They cannot earn that much. So, in all of it, unless there is some radical change, I mean, I will go into this. The economic system that we ran on when I was a kid was the Keynesian economy. Okay, it was brought in the Depression, and it was gradually taken away from 1979, dawn of Margaret Thatcher, and 1979 here in America. France had the same inflation problems in 1979, but they didn't adopt the American model. And if you go to France, every car that is on the road is made in France, and everything else is made in France. All right. You get these bigwigs on television saying that they made shoddy goods in British engineering. Rubbish. No, they didn't. All right. I worked for Rolls-Royce jet engines. It's not shoddy goods. And Garrard record players, which a lot of people won't remember, were top end. They were the Rolls Royce of record players, made in the United Kingdom. So all these people at the top at the BBC keep saying about shoddy goods. Absolute rubbish. So like I said, there's been nothing to replace it. And unless, I mean, we're in an economy at the moment where they don't generate demand, all right? They only cater for the demand that's there. So it lands up with a lot of service industry jobs, which don't pay anything. So I'm looking forward, and I look forward the last time that Labour were in, and it didn't happen, for some form of regeneration. And that's not just for the working classes, it's for everybody. Because the middle class are getting smaller. We need the middle class. They're the administrators, the teachers, the doctors, the lawyers of our society. And our society works together. And that, it seems to have been trashed, vandalised through what the start of it would have been Margaret Thatcher with a lot of cruelty, and then successive governments, either side of the political fence, who have not repaired it. And I'm looking forward. I mean, I'm 60, so even if they did it now, it would be too late for me. I mean, I'm going to retire. I mean, that's another thing. They messed with the retirement age, didn't they? I've actually got to defer 2 pensions. This is dodgy Dave Cameron did this. My private pensions come out when I'm 65. I mean, I checked with them when I was 60. I checked with them. They come out when I'm 65, but I don't get my state pension until I'm 67. Yet the private pension sector still call normal retirement date 65. So I rang them and I said, can I defer them? And they said, yes, you can, but you've got to let us know a 12 months before. I said, well, yeah, you know, of course I will. So, you know, it's David Cameron. These public schools, they seem to, you know, Labour, I mean, one Labour MP, I mean, she's not known for her finesse. She said, we were New Labour, what did we know about international economics? That's concerning. And then you've got the public school crowd, the Tories, who seem equally as dim the other way. They're sort of too, not too intellectual, because if you're too intellectual, you'd be compassionate. But they're too money orientated the other way, and none of them, between them, either of them, seems to create a system where people can live adequately. All right, I think that's the thing, adequate living. Yeah, and so we carry on in this broken Britain that I'm not currently sat in at the moment. But I'm going to return next week, the end of next week. I will return to broken Britain, where I mean, all the Brits I speak to here. I mean, you're talking the length and breadth of the country, from Cornwall to Glasgow, Scotland, East Anglia to Bristol, Liverpool, across Manchester, Northern Ireland, all of it is all the high streets, all the shops are shut down. There's no work, and I mean, you've got Labour saying, oh, there's more jobs out there, but they're not paying jobs, are they? I mean, you've got to think about it, all right? You base it on a family, all right? Because we all start in some form of family, whether it be with a single mother, or with our 2 parents, or with, I grew up with my grandparents as well, 6 of us. And you all start off somewhere, and that's, you've got to have an adequate wage to start at life. You've got to have enough money for the partner who is not having the children to when the mother has the second or third child, there's got to be enough in the wage to support that family, until those children are of school age, and then the mother then can filter, which was a traditional thing. They would go back part-time, and then as the children got older, they would go back full-time. All right? I mean, people do this reversal thing. It doesn't matter if you're outside, one of you got to earn something. And no matter what gender you are, there isn't the paying jobs to do that. All right? I mean, they've turned it into a nightmare. I mean, in my city at home, every spare piece of land for flats and this, that, and the other. There used to be a guy selling cars on High Street near me, and he sold up and gone, and it's now flats. Obviously, the land was worth more than what he could make in a small business, which is not right, And I really do feel that until there is a government who gets real. There's a saying nowadays, stoicism is very big. And there's a saying, it is what it is. And I really think that's true for any government, the right or the left. And, that they've got to look at what is, because if you don't, it will just go on and on and on and perpetuate this broken Britain. All right. So, like you said, I mean, the holiday resorts in the UK. I mean, they're broken, aren't they? There was only one thing that David Cameron was right over, and he said that some of the economies in the north of England are so badly broken they couldn't repair them, and that was an admission I was looking for from the Tories for many years, and he did admit that. But on the other side, he was he did his, I don't know. I personally didn't like the bloke. Blair was optimism, but he let me down, and many other people. He handed over to Brown. Brown was a good chancellor. Yeah, Gordon Brown, good chancellor. He wasn't the caliber of prime minister. I'm very sorry, but he wasn't. This guy Starmer, people are calling him lots of names. You've got these, what do you call it, far right sort of media outlets. I have a look at them just to see what they're saying, but I find it uptight. They're not telling you everything. The far left, I mean, I had a lot to do with politics over the years. I won't say which side, but you would tell it's not the Tories. I used to find them a little bit head in the clouds. Okay, you can have all these great ideas, but you've got to implement them on the ground. And you've got reality kicking in. You can't, these sort of like unilateral, well, anyway, it's just not going to work. But I did about 10 years with one lot, and then I left it in the end because I really am into realities, yeah. So like I said, go back to our seasides. They're in a right old state, aren't they? I used to love holidays in Devon. We used to go to Teignmouth lot, and it was in the mid-70s. All the shops were open, prosperous. You had the playhouse on the seafront. There was a cafe called the Igloo. And what a great holiday it was, because if you had a boiling hot week or fortnight, it's as good as going abroad. And you return home, what a great time. But even if it rained, there was plenty to do down there. There was plenty to do in Teignmouth, Torquay. I remember being in Torquay in 1979 in its heyday. Great big Pernod advert across the harbour wall gave that sort of international feel. Okay, sorry about that, the battery went on the camera. So yeah, no, I mean, let's have a recap of all what I've been talking about. Successive governments since 1997. I looked with optimism in 97. I thought there was going to be a new industrial beginning. There wasn't. Okay, and then we get the Tories, Dodgy Dave, and all of what he was. All right. And then we're in the dawn of Labour again. All right, and I'm looking optimistically. But our society in the UK is broken. There doesn't seem to be much light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm going to concentrate on this. Either side of the political fence, Labour or Tory, have not built council housing. They build these affordable homes, which I find a contradiction in terms. They should be building council housing. Council housing in 1977 was changed from the deserving poor to social problems. So what happens is the council house is given to somebody really who may not deserve it, but because of the amount of social problems they've got, which effectively can cause even more problems and more bills. I'm not saying that these people shouldn't be housed, but what I am saying is this. New council housing should be built. And I'm going to use, for example, the lower middle classes, okay? We need the lower middle class. I mean, I'm working class. I was born in a council house, grew up in a council house. I've lived in council on and off all of my life, okay? And I've done working class jobs, all right? But we are in desperate need of middle class people. We need doctors, lawyers, solicitors, and teachers, and nurses, all right? Okay, and council housing should be built, and it should be prioritised to, and I'm going to use this for an example. You get a kid, a girl, let's say a girl, I'd say a girl because you don't get too many guys going into primary school as teachers now, but let's say a girl. She borrows 27k. She goes to teacher training college. She comes out with a B.Ed or whatever it is for primary school. She owes that. She goes to try and get a private rent. She's got a job which is 20k or whatever the equivalent is now. Okay, not a lot. Okay, she can't afford the rent to live near her job or anywhere around her job. Her and two mates land up living in a caravan on the side of a motorway at risk of every violent aggressor under the sun, okay? That's going to put those girls on edge. They're not going to sleep well. And your child is being educated by them, yeah? All right, so what happens is they should build council housing, and that council housing should be given out for a period to, I'm just using these people as an example, there could be other people in the same financial position as key workers, all right, okay? Because that's where we need to build the blocks of society back, all right? And they should try bringing back some form of industry for people. Okay, I'm in Thailand at the moment, all right, on holiday. January is a good time for a holiday here. The weather's cool-ish, and it's coolish here, which puts it like the height for summer at home, and at home it's freezing. So it's a good time for a holiday. We all enjoy a holiday. I will be going home next week. And this place seems to work, okay? My country looks down on this place because the media in my country show one street in Bangkok. they think that's the whole country. Thailand is about the same size as the UK. It's got about a similar size of population, and one street in Bangkok, which is not expressive of the entire country. However, and what makes me laugh is you get these experts on Thailand in the UK who have never been here. All right, I see more homeless people in Britain than I see on the street here. Okay, it's not the GDP per capita, or it's not what you got in the UK, but on the other side in the UK, it's expensive, and our GDP per capita is falling. All right, so in all of it, I was, this is the city of, or town of Mahachai. It's an industrial town. And I walked past a factory the other day, and they were all clocking out, all smiling, waiting to leave in a queue to feed their incomes into the local economy. All right, that does not happen at home anymore. And I feel that governments, either side of the fence, Labour, Conservative, have failed their responsibility since 1997. I mean, what on earth New Labour were doing, going back with this one world population, swamping the country, keeping wages low, hours long, using people from second world countries who were suffering the economic downturn to come to a country and unknowingly work for low wages on long hours. Yeah, and they were victims, absolute victims. So this is the thing. I think Broken Britain could be put right by politicians not having their head in the clouds. So you've got Labour who have their head in the clouds, yeah, and then you've got the Conservatives who have their head in their own bank balance and pockets. They, either side of this politics, because I'm 60 now. Since 1979, I haven't seen any of it work. I've seen people from my own social class hit rock bottom because of it all. Not prosper, not have a good time. Some people who were from my area have gone on drugs. Some people have died. Some people have landed up in prison who should have never have been there. All right? And if we had a more prosperous, integrated society, a lot of this wouldn't happen. There is always people who go to prison. There is always people who would do drugs. However, not on the scale that it happened. All right? So in all of it, I think Broken Britain, I don't have a magic wand to put it right. But looking at this place, which is looked down on by the UK, because the UK judges this place on a hours program they see about one street in the capital. All right, laughable. Talk about generalization. Yeah, okay. So they generalize about the people here, make rude jokes, all sorts of things. Yeah, and this is a good society to look at because it's rigged like our own. Okay, all right. In England, you've got the royal family. All right. So they've got the same here, and they respect their royal family. In all of it, I'm not going to say if it's nothing to do with I'm a royalist or not, but it's just rigged the same. All right, and their society works. They've got a huge tourist economy, which is highly successful, and it brings in a lot of revenue. But also, I'm sat in a city at the moment in Thailand where there is next to nothing tourism. I'm the only foreigner on the road, which is great, okay? People can't speak English here. That's great, okay? Because it means you're away, all right? And it's an industrial city, and I will say their economy works here. And it would be something to be taken from for the United Kingdom, all right? But like I said, I don't have a magic wand, but Broken Britain, what inspired this is I was staying in Pattaya, and I got chatting to a guy from New York, absolutely pleasant. He was with two girls from New York as well, Americans are always bigger than us British. They always tower over us. And he was here for some form of martial art thing. And but he was really pleased to see me a couple of days later. And I said to him, have a look at Broken Britain. So this inspired this video from me. So you take what you want from it, all right? Okay. Even it would take. It's taken them about 40 odd years to destroy Britain. I mean, you get at the moment, you get a lot of it. You know, this is us in World War II. This is us now. What's gone wrong? Well, what's gone wrong is there is no collective society. I was thinking this thing about Thatcher, who got rid of a collective society where we all work together. We're all in the same boat. And it's all, I'm out for myself. That's what she brought in. Margaret Thatcher brought in, it's me, and I'm not worried about you, okay? Which I don't have that personality to go for that, all right? I'm more of a people's man, and I would be a more collective in my view. But if you're not like that, I mean, it's up to you. But to put things right, we would have to become a collective society again, all right? And the people we got to protect is our lower middle classes. Because if we don't have teachers, we don't have doctors, nurses, lawyers, then anarchy will reign, okay? Because always remember, the police are there to, in the UK, I'm not talking about Thailand, the police are there to uphold the law. The police don't make the law. The judiciary make the law. Now the judiciary were people like Sir Keir Starmer. He was at the top end of it. And what happens is you become a lawyer, and then you go up from there into the judiciary, and then they start making laws. This is why you had this row over antisocial behaviour orders, because antisocial behaviour orders were brought in by local government. And I will say this, local government do get a bit above themselves. They tend to act like judge, jury and executioner when they're not. Okay, so what happens is, on a legal point of view, they brought in antisocial behaviour laws to try and curb antisocial behaviour on council estates. And the judiciary said to them, well, you don't make the law, we do. And at the end of the day, it's an order, which means with an order, okay, what they say is, we're going to give you this order, say a young person X who is running around town making remarks at the judiciary and local bishop, yeah, right, okay, for example, and he's riding his bicycle with no hands, shouting, I hate the Tories, yeah. Okay, so they say to him, right, we're going to put an antisocial behaviour order on you. Well, he's not in any trouble for that. What they're saying is, we're going to watch you, and if you ride your bicycle, no hands, shouting remarks at the bishop too much, what we'll do is we'll take you into court, and then you'll have to explain your behaviour. But once you get in the court, okay, they then got to prove that you did that, all right, and your motive for doing it. They got to prove that you did it. It costs public money. So in all of it, it's sort of, you don't hear about it so much nowadays. It fell on its knees, all right. It was a it was a good idea, a very good idea, but in practice it doesn't work. And what happens is, the judiciary would work against a bunch of local government egoists, all right, some would be genuine, some would be egoists, and the judiciary would openly work against them over it, because there's treading on toes gone on, all right. So the police uphold the law, and the judiciary make the law, all right, not local government. The way, and in all of it, like I said, the way I really do feel to address Broken Britain would be to make us into Encourage us, because you can only encourage people. Blanket bans, forget it. Oh, New Labour in their blanket bans, forget it. Puts people's backs up. We have to be a collective, and a collective is we work together. Not, like World War II was a combined effort. You don't have to be on war footing, but a collective effort, regardless of politics. This the 1980s sort of yuppie thing. I absolutely hated that. I never liked it. Which they made their money through asset stripping. Asset stripping is not very nice. What happens is they say you went to a town. There's a great economy in that town, and the local town feeds off the economy of the local factory. What you do then is buy the factory, okay, you strip it of all its assets, okay, and the factory shuts down and the local town becomes unemployed. And this is where these yuppie people make their money, all right. It's unpleasant, it's butchery, and then that money would then be floated in offshore dealings in places like Panama, which it gets even more muddy, it gets even more tacky, all right. And that is what I would say wrecked Britain, and that is got to stop, all right. So if that stops, we become collective. We start caring about each other a little bit better. That could address it, but I'm not an economist. I'm certainly not a politician, and I don't have the answers. But if you have the answers, leave it in the comment below. But this inspired it because I spoke to somebody from America who thinks the UK is doing great, yeah. And the UK isn't doing great. It isn't doing great. The UK is like America. It's all been asset stripped. They've sold is what they used to call selling the family silver. Once it's gone, it's gone. There's nothing else. All right, the family money is gone. All right, so you've got to have a more collective attitude than an individualist attitude to address broken Britain. Like I said, I was saying about just now, the seaside resorts, they could be back. They could be back because people like short breaks nowadays, and those short breaks could be, you get a boiling hot week, it's great, isn't it? So thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and until next time.